another episode of the Global Titan podcast. On today's episode, we have uh, Thurea with us, who is the founder and editor in chief of the Kelele Media Production in Kwale County, Kenya. She and her team have used journalism to amplify community voices, drive social change, and empower young people with media skills, all while preserving the local culture. First of all, welcome and thank you for joining us, Thurea.
Thank you.
All right. So let's start off with the first question. Can you start by telling us who you are and what inspired you to found Kelele Media Production in Kalalani Village, Kwale County?
Torea Tiriani Mwazaya. I'm a freelance journalist in Kenya, Coastal County, in Kwale County. I decided to start Kilele Media Production since I needed to look at journalism focusing on the people, which is the local people stories. Since I felt that the mainstream media don't focus much in the rural stories and much is left out.
I mean, that sounds very genuine to a large degree. Most current media environment is mostly corporate driven, so corporate interests, national interests are much more at focus than local communities, basically. So, yeah.
That's really good, thread. And you said that it seems like there was a gap that you saw in kind of grassroots communities and the representation. So, is it something that resonated with you? Like, is there something about your personal experience that really kind of inspired you to kind of focus on that particular sector?
It was in May since 4 years back when I was a trainee back in a radio station. Um, I first did the story of a baby who had colostomy, and since through the first instant news, I could notice that much didn't happen. So I decided to go back to the village and look for the baby and her parents and see how I can help further. So from that time, I developed this idea of I need to have a media house or an institution that will be able to focus uh, and get to the news from the grassroots.
Oh wow, that's very inspiring. That's very inspiring. Wow, I mean, I've heard a lot of stories, but yeah, that one is pretty significant. That's nice.
I mean, from what you just mentioned right now, we can understand what the difference between your media company and just the general media companies, mainstream media companies in Kenya is. But can you further define the core mission of Kelele Media? Not just focusing on local communities, but also there might be other reasons or other motivations on top of that that might have motivated you, and all of them combining together toward creating Kelele Media.
All right. I also needed to focus on the grassroots in traditions. Since I just saw that the traditions right now are they're just moving away. So I needed to focus on the traditions. Right now, I write stories about traditions. That is mentoring the elder, mentoring the young, so as to ensure that the local traditions stay, even if we are moving digitally, but also our young develop the need to understand uh, their forefathers, their history, as in they need to understand more, as in now many youth they don't understand they don't have time to sit with their grandparents. They're just using digital social media sites, so it's like
Mm.
history is not forgotten. So I decided to you integrate also traditional news into Kilele. I am also focusing on health Right now, we have so many diseases, and at the grassroots, people don't understand how these diseases are. They need maybe they needed healthcare, but we know we they don't know how to. Their culture still makes them not to understand to go and look for medication fast. So through and then through the mentoring and writing more stories on health as well as traditions, I encourage and foster engagement in the local communities.
Wow. Um, Makes sense, makes sense. I wanted to, kind of get into some of the specific groups that you like to target. From my understanding, it's youth, it's women groups, um, and other marginalized communities. Um, is that the main priority, or are there other groups that you like to encompass in your media company?
Okay, at the moment, those are the primary sources. But my primary source for the news is also the men. We also I've
Mm,
seen that through my surveys and some kind of stories. I've seen that women get challenges by the decisions of the men as
yes,
the husbands or their fathers. For instance, we still have cases that men don't want their children to go to school. So, in such a scenario, I focus the men as the secondary voices.
makes sense, makes sense. It makes sense to kind of, focus on I don't want to say I want to be politically correct, but the people in the most vulnerable of situations, and I definitely understand, the cultural aspect of around that. Makes sense. Makes sense.
I mean, it's really interesting to note because just the other day I was reading on the Indian side, on the subcontinental side, research has shown that for women to achieve more in our societies, the fathers and the brothers have the most important role in pushing them forward for education or for social mobility, and that's a very, I think, insightful take on how journalism can positively impact women empowerment in Kenya. So, based on that, can you share a story that your Kelele Media has produced, which had a direct positive impact on a local community, where your media company does coverage?
All right. We've done Shakahola. Shakahola tragedy. We just re-angle it, do a follow-up story since the crisis took place happened 3 years ago. But then now I followed up the story, and um, right now I'm seeing that Kilifi County government is looking forward to give them clean water.
Mm,
They were decrying that they were looking for clean water. So now Kilifi County is making it possible for them to have clean water in their area in Kilifi County. I've also done on traditions. Right now, using culture, the Duruma people are focusing to have building, uh, planting more trees so that they can be able to encourage. I recently aired a story about combining culture and climate change, and now
Mm-hmm.
the Ruma people in Kenango, uh, they are going to plant more trees, as if the area is doesn't have more trees and they need trees. They have taken that initiative to plant more trees and using culture.
very nice,
I
very
mean,
nice.
that's. Mhm.
And I've been hearing about initiatives around planting trees and dealing with like carbon footprints and stuff like that. So I think there's also a way to kind of tie that in, with philanthropy maybe. So that's really cool. Um, my question, that I have for you now, Thread, is around online journalism, right? Um, how do you how do you think online journalism helps in shaping, empowering these communities? Like like what angles, what what takes, how do you merge the two? How do you marry the two?
All right. Uh, Online journalism really helps a lot since the elites are the people who at least have gone to school, use social media. So right now
Mm.
in Kenya, when something happens, the community, everyone posts. Everyone is becoming a community journalist.
That's true.
Yeah. So the cost, then we see how it's trending. So that's now is where I get to know that this thing is happening and it needs immediate attention.
Very nice. Very nice. That makes sense. That makes sense. And and also, taking that the viral nature of the internet, but also, you know, being more altruistic around it and giving back. So that's really a good method. Makes sense.
Thurea, I think I'll touch something on your particular role at Kalele Media as an editor in chief. So, generally speaking, like when we talk of mainstream media, there's a lot of loops and procedures that you need to go through for a story to get published, right? And that does make sure that whatever is reported has been tested a lot to make sure it's accurate. It's not, something speculative, and it's not something that's creating sensationalization throughout in society, right? And generally speaking, one of the biggest criticisms that we have for in online or digital media and journalism is that there's a lot of sensationalization in those organizations. So, how do you, as the editor in chief of Kelele Media, make sure that when you have a story, right, it's accurate, there's an accountability for whoever has reported it to be accurate, and all the ethical aspects of journalism for the collection of that story and information have been followed through.
All right. When I assign the story or if I detect a story that we need to go to the ground, first, after going to the ground, we usually use a consent form. So that makes sure that whoever that was interviewed, uh, someone is a person first. We notify that because we'll get his signature, yeah, his contact, so we know that the person interviewed is really human. And then the photos, we have to cross-check using Google, or sometimes just check on the dates that the photos were taken. Um, Basically, we use AI tools to confirm.
I mean,
Nice.
that sounds like, there is a system through which you make sure that, stories are accurate, and, there's not sensationalization mixed into it. And that shows that your media organization has achieved a level of maturity which a lot of digital media or journalist organizations do not have.
Right. Makes
I
sense.
yes, yes, because we use journalists who are accredited, so we have to maintain the Media Council of Kenya standards.
No, that's extremely important there. Um, Threa, I want to talk a bit about culture and identity, right? Um, from my understanding, your media company works to document local traditions, languages, and cultural practices, right? Um, why is cultural preservation important to you, and how do you how do you merge that with social development?
Okay, culture preservation is very important since at the end of the day, after writing the stories and analyzing what is really happening at the grassroots or in the homesteads, it comes back to the culture.
Mm.
So I felt that writing stories about culture, it will enable everyone or the families to understand the gaps. Like for example, right now we have the Gen Z, and many people say that handling Gen Z is difficult from handling the millennials. So going back to the culture aspect, it makes the families understand how what the history of uh, let's say decency for instance. Since right now we previously we had my dress my choice in Kenya, so that means you can wear anything, uh,
Really?
and no one needs to ask you. But then now when you take it back, someone can you need to check what you wear and according to where you go, and
Mm.
that makes culture uh, the checkpoint onto what happens in the society.
Mm. Makes
I mean,
sense.
that makes a lot of sense, Thuria, because of westernization to a large degree, even in when we talk about the India and Pakistan all over on this side of the world, um, a lot of people do wear dresses which are not appropriate for the environment, right? And while that might seem your choice, and to a degree, I agree it's your choice, but cultural sensibility, your choice ends when you're trying to encroach upon other people's cultural
Other
sensibilities.
people's. Yeah.
So that is an important aspect to, I think, consider, especially in non-Western societies, where most people in the West do not understand how our societies work and how much different they are in how they operate. So let's take a step back. We were talking about youth empowerment and skills development, and I think I read somewhere that your organization is involved with the youth of Kenya a lot. So, how do they get involved in your media company? And what skills do they gain? And how does this change the opportunities that they might get based on the skills they develop in your organization?
All right. I engage the youth get skills through our media organization through empowerment. For instance, if we get opportunities that just local organizations need youth, let's say for empowerment or um, digital skills. So we end up mentoring the youth that this organization need you to be able to work online or to be able to work you get data. So we end up informing them prior to know what the organization wants and if they can be available for that duration so that they can be able to work. So in the end, we end up mentoring the youth according to the particular kind of the organization's needs. Sometimes we engage in getting in internships. Sometimes the youth they don't know to get the internship sites, so I end up for getting them the internship opportunities, so they end up applying. So and some who don't know how to apply, we are in the grassroots, some
Yes.
don't know how to apply online applications, so we help them to apply the online applications and help them to follow them up. Also we have in Kwale County right now, um, there is youth empowerment through opening companies. So we ensure that the youth also open companies, and we mentor them, we help them to get the tenders, just like the women who get tenders in Kwale County. So it's getting them have step by step mentoring according to the organization's needs.
Wow. That's really impressive, and that will be one of the primary things that come to my mind, right? When you're dealing with grassroots, like how do you merge, technological gaps, hold individuals' hands in terms of training to actually partake on those internships, job opportunities, and etc. So it's quite significant, and I think it would be very challenging, um, to have a great impact without that kind of merger, without that kind of way of helping individuals cross the chasm. So that's quite significant. So, and sounds like, from what I read, and from what I'm understanding through this podcast, it seems like you guys are definitely on the right track. Now, I got to mix it up a little bit, right? And we've spoken a lot about, the flowery aspect of running this organization, but what are some of the challenges that you face in running a grassroots organization? I think there would probably be definitely some challenges. What are those challenges?
All right, challenges they're really there. Financial aid, financial, you really have to be on your toes, the distances, sometimes language barriers. Since we have to communicate uh, according to the traditional languages here, which is Duruma and Kamba, because the Duruma, Kamba, and Digo, they live together. But
Oh,
this on our side, on this other side, we have Kambas and Durumas. The Durumas are the ones who are many. Then we have slightly smaller number for the Kamba people community. Then on this other side, during the on the other on the upper Kwale, we have
mhm,
Digo people, then we have Masais also. So you can find that the language barrier because you want to understand the traditional parts. So we have to make sure that there's a person who can speak well, fluently, while on the
right,
ground. And also we need to write stories in English so as to persuade more donors. We look for sponsors also in English, but now. So you understand that we have to use three languages: English, Swahili, and the traditional languages for
wow,
for us to fit in the ground level. Yeah.
wow, and
Also,
and it's quite. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
and also the funding now. You might find an opportunity here, but then someone may tell you that they don't have the funds to go to that place to look for to apply for that cause. So you
Right,
end up making sure that this person fits there. So you look for a source, you look for a sponsor, and it's it's very tedious sometimes. Sometimes it's so technical. Um, so and you also need to get more sponsors, more funding, and equip the youth. Also, sometimes they need to understand. Or they sometimes they feel like, why are you doing this? Because do you want a seat, or do you want any work from the county? Sometimes it's not someone doesn't understand why you have to go all your way out to help the community. So you have to encourage them and make them understand that you're just doing this work just to help the community, and you're not looking to get anything from them. Since they might feel that like you want maybe a seat to be nominated something
right,
during the elections time. Yeah.
right. Yeah, like now that's kind of I don't want to say it's a new perspective because I never thought about that, but yeah, I mean I could definitely see how how individuals would leverage altruistic type of effort like this to for personal gain. And then also it's quite interesting the element that you highlighted around the multicultural um, you know environment. Like I'm from America, right? So it's like it's only one, like pretty much one culture. I mean, obviously East Coast, you may have slightly different nuances versus West Coast or versus the South, but it's pretty much the same culture. but I'm kind of glad you spoke on the aspect of the challenges around, because you can be in Kenya, but you may not speak the other languages that, indigenous languages, and kind of merging that. I never thought about that. That's kind of a interesting, but it seems like a fruitful challenge, right? Because I mean, and I've been to Kenya a time or two, and it's really been kind of exciting, really trying to learn different cultures and stuff like that. So very cool.
I mean, I think at this stage we've been able to understand from Thurea why she and her organization are where they are today. What I think going forward, I would like to understand is that what is your long-term vision for Kilele? Where do you see Kilele Media Company 5 years from today?
Well, 5 years from today, I see clearly that we shall be listed as the mainstream media. Since right now we have like five, we call them the big five. That
Mm-hmm.
is Nation, Standard, Nation,
Mm,
KTN, uh, K24. Those are three. Some left on the way. Then we have upcoming people um, who are also online. So I also see Kilele as part of that list, since we are looking forward to drive change, and we know we shall be there.
I think it's somewhat similar to like, and I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong here. So in my side of the world, like there are only national televisions, right, and media companies,
Yes,
and
yes,
local city-based is not considered like I had no idea there were even city-based channels, right? But that's fairly common in the States. And recently, some of the major cities do have city-based news channels popping up, and they're being fairly successful. So the way I understand it, going 5 years down the line, you see Kelele as the one of the top like a mainstream media channel for the local community, and focuses on
yes,
the local issues, like a local TV channel that we see commonly in the
yes,
States and that are newly emerging from where I am.
nice.
yes.
Rhea, I think this will be, kind of my last question, and I think I think I've learned a lot about your organization, and it's quite inspiring. Um, I do want to ask, what advice would you give a young person, in terms of using social media as a tool for social change? Because I mean, obviously you're using it, but to me, it seems like an effort like this, and especially what you're doing, you would want it to grow legs, and for other people to kind of pick up on what you're doing. So, what advice would you give to a young person who wanted to use media for social change?
Well, first, um, advice is people should be trained, and they should develop their skills,
Mm,
since more rules are coming up on social media. And right now, if you're not skilled as per, you will feel that social media is not your take, since you'll be having legal battles all the time. So
right.
at least you take skills, you be informed on what to post and how to post it, and then it should be well.
Yeah, yeah. Skills is it is a very important thing, and I think a lot of people underestimate, the legal aspect, as you spoke of, the responsibility aspect of posting on social media, and et cetera. So those are actually some pretty good tips. Makes sense.
I mean, it's been great having you, Thurea. But let's before we wrap this up, how can our listeners support and collaborate with Kilele Media? Of course, we're going to add the links regarding Kilele Media in the description for this video as well. But how can they support Kilele Media to push forward?
All right. Supporting is by partnerships. um, giving grants, and also to the stories that we write, and also uh, giving more partnerships and mentoring opportunities. You see, like the stories that if we write stories and we get more grants, so we'll be able to go back to the villages and write more stories and continue to have uh, followers and listeners in the grassroots. So that means you're going to drive change and also to make sure that people understand what about what we write. Since many a times it's the financial that makes Kilele not to go forward and that fast, since we are just going at a slow pace since we have minimal funding. So I feel that if we get more funds and more partnerships, we are good to go.
Right on.
I
Dorea.
mean, I've learned a lot today, Thuraya,
Yeah.
like, understanding how like to a large degree, understanding how local journalism in Kenya works, and, how the different dynamics for each community are very, very unique. And just like the uniqueness of every community, hence every community must have a separate media organization focusing on them so they could handle the uniqueness of every community.
Yeah, and I just want to say also in closing, Thread, extremely professional, extremely positive, effort, and the Global Titan will do whatever we can to support, to try to get some more traction around this effort. Stay professional, and just keep pushing and keep doing the right thing. It's been a pleasure.
And
Thank
with that, we're
you.
going to wrap up this episode of the Global Titan podcast. And we'll see you on our next episode. Thank you.